Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry I'm talking to you like this, but I'm about to get ready for a super exciting event and I thought it would be great to have you guys come along. So the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, in collaboration with Lawyers for Human Rights and the South African Nationality Network, are hosting an event to celebrate I think it's the eighth year of the I Belong campaign that the UNHCR is running, and I was invited to speak as one of the panelists. One of the before the event today, there was a art competition that was open for anyone to submit artwork under the theme of Insider Outsider, just to capture what it means to be stateless and what it feels like to not belong. And so lots of people submitted art and there were 3 winners. We're going to do the prize giving today and then have the panel discussion. The first prize will get 20,000 Rand, which is super exciting. And so I'm about to get ready. The event is at the Indaba conference and I'm going to try my best to capture it all because I think it's a very important event just to show how advocacy for citizenship and advocacy for like birth registration is so important, and how there are so many stakeholders and people who are partnering to raise awareness to these issues. So I will show you what I'm going to wear and we're going to vlog the whole experience. I hope you enjoy this vlog. I love watching vlogs. So this will be my first ever vlog. I'll see you guys. What's up, you guys? I just finished getting ready. I'm just waiting for my boyfriend to finish up and then we're gonna Uber away. I'll show you my outfit shortly. This is actually the dress I wore for my first graduation. So I'm reusing it and I'm super excited that I get some use out of it. And we're gonna head out in a few. Oh my gosh, this is taking me back to 2020. Yeah, when we're wearing this outfit for my graduation. This is Saulo. We're waiting for the Uber. Say hi to my vlog. This is my mommy.
An appeal to all of us to intensify our effort to ensuring that everyone...
And now you can add the insider-outsider competition to this competition. So just a bit more.
Who is currently a Tech Rights Fellow at Alt Advisory. She holds both BA and LLB degrees from the University of Johannesburg and is currently completing her master's degree at Wits University at the African Center for Migration and Society, and as a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. But maybe more importantly, that before she joined Wits University, she worked with Lawyers for Human Rights and Section 27. And most recently, Christy clerked with the Constitutional Court for 6 months with Justice Majid. So Christy, it's really great to have you with us. And on my left is Sihle Kumalo. Sihle is a 36-year-old. I know, well, we really appreciate you being here and being willing to speak openly, because For you, it's not just a professional concern as a lawyer, as an academic, but the issue of nationality and belonging runs a little bit deeper than that. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your own story?
Thank you, Jakob. Thank you for having me. It's an incredible honor to be here. I was born in Johannesburg in 1998 to two foreign parents from Zimbabwe. I didn't realize that I wasn't South African until very later on. I felt very much South African. I lived here my whole life. I knew Joburg like the back of my hand, and I had been very much assimilated and socialized into schooling and with a lot of my friends. The moment I realized that I didn't belong to this country that I thought was home was when I was in grade 11 and my high school principal called myself and a few other learners into her office, and she asked us why we didn't have any documentation. And she was like, I don't understand how you got into school and how you've come this far, because I have no record of your birth or any passport or anything to record that you are validly in the country. When that happened, I immediately told my mom, and I panicked because the following year I was supposed to write my matric exams and graduate high school, and so the school said they were under strict rules to not permit anyone to write their final exams unless they could provide some form of documentation. It was at that moment I did a quick Google search. The natural thing to do is look for lawyers for human rights, and I fortunately found LHR, and I was able to write my matric exams, which was the first hurdle. But wanting to pursue my studies further and go to university was another issue, and I fortunately could get a Zimbabwean passport through my mother when I was under 18. And I managed to go through university, but then someone told me that I couldn't practice law. And I was like, how is that possible? I thought I'm South African, yes, I hold a Zimbabwean passport, but it still didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I went back to Lawyers for Human Rights, and my legal counselor under the head of Jessica Lawrence, who's here today, they helped me draft a citizenship application, and told me that I was eligible and they explained all the processes. But it wasn't until this year that Home Affairs recognized me as a South African citizen. Between the time I went to LHR and then, I couldn't, my Zimbabwean passport had expired, and I didn't have a Zimbabwean ID, and there were a lot of impracticalities because I was over 18, and getting an ID after all these years in Zimbabwe posed a lot of challenges. And so until then, I was stateless, having not been recognized as a South African citizen or a Zimbabwean citizen.
So, having now had the opportunity to reflect, to study, to interrogate the problem of statelessness, what do you think society, government specifically, can do or could have done to prevent the kind of plight and hardship that you had to go through? What kind of remedies can they offer?
I think at a more international level, the first point of call is ratifying and acknowledging international conventions and laws. There are two conventions that aim to reduce statelessness and impose positive obligations on governments to enact laws that protect stateless people and ensure that there's birth registration. South Africa, for example, has not to date ratified any of those statelessness conventions, so they are under no international obligations to protect and reduce statelessness. I think that would be the most important thing and the first thing to do, because when lawyers and other regional bodies are trying to advocate to eradicate statelessness, you have this document and you can remind governments that you committed to this and you signed this document. And so I think that's the first thing. And through that, then enforcing birth registration, irrespective of where someone's parents are from, will be able to be facilitated and filtered. And I think already we have amazing civil society organizations that are interrogating and helping government, I think, to recognize that this is an issue. I think last week Tandeka and the statelessness team had presented to Parliament, and that's an important tool because a lot of the time governments don't have the resources to do the research and to know what the numbers are and who needs help. And so when you have civil society working with government agencies and having funding from the UNHCR, then a larger impact can be made, because this is not an issue that government alone must solve, because they don't have the capacity or the knowledge to, I'm sure they have the knowledge, but I think you guys can provide them with a much detailed index, like Wayne mentioned, and analysis.
Yeah, no, and it's so true what you mentioned, and it's that the two international conventions that you speak of were adopted in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that's what 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Maths was never my strong point.
That's why we studied law.
Yeah. And the reason why I mentioned this is just to show the importance of the I Belong campaign, because the I Belong campaign, the UNHCR really reinvigorated the importance of these conventions and what it tried to achieve, and modernized the thinking around that. And I think this campaign has achieved so much, not only in getting states to ratify and consider it, and hopefully our government will do so soon, but also considering how it can bring its own laws and practice in line with that. And so, as you say, recognizing the importance of the law, but also implementing those laws. But to implement it, we have to be aware of what is at stake if we don't. And it brings me back to this campaign, because this campaign, this arts campaign, tells us the story of exclusion, of alienation, of not belonging in a very powerful way. And as one of the panelists who judged this competition, can you reflect a little bit about the use of art and how this competition and the artworks spoke to you and may be relevant to the objectives of this campaign?
Thank you. I mean, congratulations to all the artists. I felt very incompetent to judge this because I have zero artistic skill. But I think the narrative statements that accompanied the artworks were beautifully written, particularly Michaela's piece. I loved that she represented a migrant and a statelessness person as the strong, majestic and almost Greek godly person. It was so beautiful because in my master's research, a hurdle I came across, because my research is on statelessness and how the law is not being implemented and people are struggling to access so many rights. But my supervisor raised the question to me. He's like, yes, you were stateless, but you were able to go to school and you were able to work throughout that. Is the law such a hindrance? Are migrants actually migrants are not always vulnerable, and the narrative and the imagery around migrants or statelessness people or refugees is always downtrodden, and they always look like they're impoverished, or there's these negative imagery and connotations. And seeing a representation of a migrant as someone powerful, but having the backdrop that Michaela had of the ocean and the desert, it acknowledges that there is struggle and there were challenges, but there's so much hope and abundance once you come out across the other side. So I think the artwork was beautifully representative of how migrants should be represented, and that they are humans that do have agency and can, a big part of it is important to have like advocacy groups and people rallying behind you, but I think migrants also are empowered to advocate for themselves and to speak up against injustices like statelessness.
Donovan, let's move over to you.
Consider for just 1 minute what it would be like if the country you were born in and had lived your whole life didn't consider you a citizen. No country did. You belonged nowhere. That is the shocking reality for millions of people who have no nationality. They're stateless. Most people are citizens of somewhere. We have birth certificates, we have passports, we have ID cards, we have driver's license, health cards, documents proving who we are. But on paper, stateless people simply don't exist. In fact, I can't even tell you how many stateless people there are because over half of all countries don't even count them. Globally, countries...
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to this part of the vlog and making it to the end. I hope that you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed filming it. Please don't forget to subscribe and like if you would like to, and share it if there's anyone you would like to share it with. Thank you so much for your support and for watching, and hopefully I will be more present on this platform and produce much more content that I'm sure many of you have been waiting for. So I look forward to doing that. Thank you so much for your time, and goodbye.